What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing fantastic today. It is Saturday, May 9th, 2020, and this is Raphael Garcia here for episode number 57 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. I want to thank you for taking the moment to check out this show, whether you're doing it on Saturday or Sunday next week, whenever that may be. I have a couple of different things to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Money in the Bank. We're going to be talking about two interviews from this week, one involving the Revolt and the other involving ACH. Some very interesting thoughts I have on both of those. And then we're just going to take a quick look back to some of the wrestling content from this past week. A couple of things I want to talk about. I'm not going to be doing like full recaps anymore. I think kind of hitting on some of the highlights, which I think is a little bit better. I just like to kind of put my thoughts about the wrestling industry out into the space. But before we do that, as always, I want to again thank you for listening to this show. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on our YouTube channels or across Spotify or one of the other podcasting networks. As always, you can hop over to MMAratings.net where you can catch all of our content there about combat sports, specifically mixed martial arts, which is starting back up today. And then you can check us out at on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and I believe that is it. And you can check us there for our weekly shows, this one and then the MMA Ratings podcast, which we do on Tuesdays. And you can also check out MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter. See all of our content there. Me, I'm R_Garcia_sports on Twitter and Instagram as well. So you can see a lot of the things I'm talking about there, which usually includes professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing, NBA, and everything in between. So we have a little bit to talk about today. And I already talked about the three main topics we're going to be covering. So we're going to jump right into it with the Money in the Bank preview, which is set for tomorrow on the WWE Network. And yeah, what are some of my thoughts about this card? I am interested in the women's and men's ladder matches for different reasons, and we'll definitely get to talking about those. But the rest of the card, I'm just like, I'm not really sure I want to sit here and watch this. I may figure out something else to do. I may have the PPV on my computer this time instead of having it on my television as I usually do. But let's run down this match card and talk about some of these scheduled bouts and make some predictions. So I'm looking at the match listing on Wikipedia, which is where I usually go to kind of just do a quick check on the actual card, and I'm seeing that there's two matches on here that no one's really talked about. I don't think that this is real because it's Wikipedia, and I'm not going to talk about those matches. But you have Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro and R-Truth versus MVP. I haven't seen anyone talk about that. I haven't seen anyone hint to those. I mean, either way, I'm always down for seeing R-Truth on TV. Him and MVP, they're good, great veterans who I guess will go out there and have an okay match. Jeff Hardy and Cesaro. Again, Cesaro, I'm always a big fan of him. I thought they were doing something with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, but I'm not sure where that's gone. They had a segment together on SmackDown this past week, and I think Jeff Hardy's overrated. One day I'll write about that. One day I may talk about that, but I'm just not that guy. I'm not a Jeff Hardy guy. Never have been, never will be. So we're not going to dive too much into those matches. Instead, we're going to talk about the matches that we know are on the docket because they've been getting talked about for the last few weeks. And the first we have is Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. And, I don't know what to make of this. Braun Strowman the title was put on him because Roman Reigns is not comfortable wrestling during this time, which he shouldn't be because he is in a position where his immune system is compromised, so he does not want to get infected with COVID, and his wife is also pregnant with twins, so family comes first, which makes the most sense. But the response to that was to put the title on, um, what's his name? Braun Strowman at WrestleMania, where he defeated Bill Goldberg. Well, no. Braun Strowman defeated Bill Goldberg, correct. Drew McIntyre defeated Brock Lesnar. So this match here, I just feel some type of way. I'm hoping for some shenanigans. And what I mean by shenanigans is I'm hoping that instead of The Fiend, that Braun actually faces off against Bray Wyatt. And I hope we get some type of shenanigans that lead to a better story. Because right now the story around this is not good. I have not heard one good take about this pending feud in any way, shape, or form, and that really tells you a lot. Braun Strowman, I hate to say it, but his moment is past. Unless if he's built back up the way he was when he was first kind of pushed as an individual, I don't know what the hell they're going to do with this guy. I really think he needs to go away from television for an extended period of time. Maybe go do some projects, maybe go do some acting or something like that, and then come back as that heel that flips over trucks and just beats the shit out of people again. Because right now, what they're giving us isn't working, and I'm just not a fan of it. Braun Strowman should be someone that makes you stop what you're doing and watch him on television. He can talk sometimes, but he can move, like he can go in the ring for a big man. It's just not great what they're doing with him right now. And this match with Bray Wyatt doesn't get me excited in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, I hope that there's some shenanigans in the long run, but it's neither here nor there because I don't think that they're really going to do anything with either. They're not going to do anything with Braun, and they've already fucked Bray Wyatt up, so I don't care about either one of these guys, and that puts me in a position to not care about this match at all. Next up, we have Bayley versus Tamina, and the build for this has been much better than a lot of people anticipated. Tamina's been good. These last 2 months or so of her run have been good, and it's much better than what anyone has really seen from her at any other point in her career. She's really been battling injuries and other issues. She's like a legacy name in that organization, but she's really kind of showing her value why she's been stuck around in these last couple of days. Yes, the people in the ring with her have been making her look good, i.e. Sasha Banks, i.e. Bayley in this match on Friday. Well, excuse me, they had a tag team match on Friday where Tamina got the win. She pinned Bayley for her team. But this match right here is it's pretty interesting to me. But I expect Bayley to win. It makes sense. I expect Bayley to keep the title until SummerSlam, where she will lose it to Sasha Banks, and Lacey Evans, who I am predicting is going to win the Women's Money in the Bank, is going to cash in on Sasha that same day. People are going to get pissed. People are going to lose their shit, but I am predicting that right now. And we're going to talk about that more when we get to the women's match. But I expect Bayley to win here. I think Tamina I think she's going to make Tamina look good. But we're going to get maybe a little bit of shenanigans with her and Sasha as well, too. Maybe. Because, yeah, Sasha's not in Women's Money in the Bank. So I expect some shenanigans here, too, as well. But I think Bayley's going to get the win. Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. I see Seth Rollins losing here and Drew keeping the title. And there's a couple of different reasons why. I do believe that we're getting a Drew versus Jinder feud sometime in the future. But it's not going to be comical at all. It's going to be something serious. And I like the idea that they kept Jinder out of the Money in the Bank because that predictability we just don't need. Instead, I hope they go back to the quote unquote old way of building up contenders by having Jinder win matches. He squashed Akira Tozawa, I think 2 weeks ago. He wasn't on last week, and because he wasn't in the gauntlet match. But I think that if he just keeps beating up on people, building up over a couple months, we can have that come in September as a part of SummerSlam. Maybe let me pump the brakes on that a little bit. But I think that they could get a good 2 month feud between these 2 to 3 months between Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, based solely off of their time together in 3MB. But with that in mind, I do expect Drew to retain the title over Seth. I think they're heading towards a feud between Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. We're going to talk about that more once we cover some of the content from this week, but there was definitely some words said on Raw that leans in that direction. So then we have the New Day versus the Lucha Brothers versus the Forgotten Sons and Miz and Morrison. This is going to be a 4-way match. And I hate to say this, it pains my heart, but those tag team titles are going on the Forgotten Sons. You already see it. I hate it, but you already see it. They're pushing their former Marines gimmick. They're pushing that they've been forgotten by their country. This is so fucking MAGA. It just makes me not want to watch wrestling. It makes me not want to watch WWE's content. And at some point in time, we're going to talk about diversity in AEW, maybe in the future, but it's not much better over there. But this shit right here is what WWE keeps shoving down our neck. Is blatant as fuck. And it's clear as day that no one in their decision making process has any idea what the hell is going on in our country. They have no social conscience, no social compass to understand some of the commentary that they're putting out there. But I expect this to be a great match because the New Day and the Lucha Brothers are going to tear it up. The other half of this match, I don't give two shits about. I don't like Miz and Morrison. I get why they put them back together. They should be feuding with each other, in my opinion. I think Morrison is a good heel. I wanted him to see a little bit more from him now that he's back. But he's just been shoved back into the same picture with the Miz. So it's like, oh, I don't care about that. I would love it if they put the title on the Lucha Brothers. It's not going to happen, but I would love it if they did. These two guys can go. They've been showing that they can go. Vince Dorado on the mic is fucking hilarious, especially if you have Grand Metalik speaking in Spanish and Lindsay doing the translating. That's perfect. You have Oscar and Karise talking about their shit in Japanese and people talking about how it's getting over. Why can't they do the same thing with these two Latino wrestlers here? I think it would be great. But we know that those titles are not going on those two. Like if they did that, I don't care what else happens in the show. I'm giving them an A. So that brings us to the two ladder matches. And the interesting thing about this is that they're going to be going on at the same time. Now, my first prediction, is that Lacey Evans is going to win the women's Money in the Bank. I don't think that they're going to put the briefcase back on Shayna. I don't think they're going to put it on Nia with a lot of the commentary that comes out towards her. Asuka doesn't need it. Shayna and Asuka actually don't need it. If they did a feud where those two women were beating the hell out of everyone and they had to face off to get a shot at the Raw Women's title, and Becky Lynch, I would be totally okay with that. I feel like everyone would be behind that. Just the idea of seeing them one up each other, beating people up every week. Nia, I just don't think people would ever clamor for her to be in the women's title picture again. Carmella, again, I don't think she needs a title either. A lot of people are talking about Dana Brooke and this is her first chance. I get it. I agree. This is her first chance of being in a position of some spotlight. I just don't think they're putting that belt on her at any time either, or they're putting her in a position to be a top contender as well. I think they don't see her in that way. We often talk about how they don't see certain particulars as mainstay names, and I don't think they see Dana in that way at all. While I get it, she is a new face. It would be exciting to see something different for her. I just don't expect that to happen at any point in time. I'm expecting Lacey to take that women's title, and I'm expecting Lacey to cash it in on Sasha. People say that's not going to happen. I don't know. That's where I'm putting my bet right now. Over on the men's side, you have AJ Styles, Otis, Baron Corbin, Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, and Aleister Black. Why? I would not be surprised with both of these going on at the same time if two women won. And if people would lose their shit, I'm totally here for the WWE, or excuse me, the wrestling Twitter world to have a meltdown if two women walked out of Sunday's pay-per-view with the two Money in the Bank briefcases. I would love for that, and I would love for people to lose their mind because that's what I'm here for all day, every day. I'm not interested in seeing any of these guys with a Money in the Bank briefcase. Aleister Black is the only name on that group that looks like a true challenger, and they can put him in a number one contender slot just by having him continue beating the shit out of people. I think he's lost once. He's been pinned one time, and that was after he got jumped by AJ and all of the crew. So he can just continue winning matches before he's put in a position to challenge for the title. AJ Styles as a briefcase holder, okay, I could see a storyline with AJ and Drew. That could be a major portion of SummerSlam. But I don't know if it's really going to matter. Otis, a lot of people are clamoring for Otis and his storyline with Mandy. Yeah, it's entertaining, it's funny, but keep him out of the damn title picture, please. I mean, there's so many other guys. If you can't tell me, if they can't get a Ricochet over, if they can't get a Cedric Alexander over, if they can't get, Apollo Crews was in this, but he was pulled out. I hope that that's headed towards him getting a shot at the U.S. title, but that's another conversation for another day. I've written about that. If they can't get all those individuals over, watching them get Otis over has just been like not frustrating to me. It's been entertaining, but it's like, why is this where we are today? Like, I just, I'm not here for, like, the comedy pieces of wrestling have a place, and we're actually going to talk about that with AEW's main event from this past week. The comedy pieces of it have a place, but I don't think they should sit around in the main event picture for an extended period of time. When Santino was back doing the his comedy gimmick and he was in the Elimination Chamber and he had that moment, it was great. It was great for that one night. We didn't need the title on him for an extended period of time. We didn't need him in the title picture for an extended period of time. I feel the same way about Otis, but a lot of people have him as the individual that may be walking out with the briefcase for the men. I hope not. So that brings me up to topic number 2. And I want to talk about 2 interviews from this past week. So the Revolt was on Talk is Jericho, and they talked to Chris Jericho for, I think it was probably about an hour and a half show about their departure from WWE. And I thought it was a good conversation. It was very interesting to me just to kind of hear them talk. It was much different than the Jon Moxley conversation was, because Moxley was very candid, I guess, in this conversation about saying how, stuff was just not good and how Vince played a big part in things not being good, and that led to his departure. They said a lot of those same things as Moxley did, where it was like there was nothing that WWE could do to get them to return, even though they were offering. I think they said uh, somewhere this week I heard about potential contracts for them was almost $800,000 each, which looking back, it was smart for them not to take because they would have been cut. They would have been released last month. But a lot of what they said is very understandable about why they left the WWE. That they not that they didn't take themselves so super seriously. That's not it. But that it was clear that the WWE has no vision for tag team wrestling, and we still see that every day. I mean, just this past week, both tag team champions, the New Day and the Street Profits, lost. Now, there's a little bit more to that, in my opinion, but those divisions are not booked in any way, shape, or form. When's the last time we've seen the women's tag team champions on television? It's just there's clearly no love for that group. It's been well said that Vince McMahon is not a fan of tag team wrestling, and that's clear, and that led to their departure, which I understand. And it wasn't about the titles to them, but it was about the division as a whole. And they gave a bunch of examples on that podcast. Now, I expect them to head to AEW. They didn't say where they're going to go. They talked about New Japan. They obviously talked about the Young Bucks. I could see them going to NWA there for a little while too as well, just to kind of do something different and do some old school down south wrestling. But I think that they're going to go to AEW. And actually, now that I think about it, the NWA thing actually makes even more sense if they brought EC3 with them, just because that organization is so promo heavy, and EC3 is great on the mic, but the WWE didn't give him any opportunity to show that. So I could see that happening. And if you've been paying attention to EC3's Twitter lately, he's been posting a lot of videos where he's dropping this gimmick, where he's, I guess, I don't even know how to really say it, but he's speaking his own truth, which I think is cool. And the first couple were kind of like, but the one from this past week was actually pretty fucking awesome, and I like that a lot of people were talking about that. So I expect them to go to AEW. I expect them to get a big pop when they do. They're going to be right in the top of the tag team title picture. I would love to see them against SCU. I would love to see them against the Young Bucks, Lucha Brothers. I mean, I don't really care too much. Death Triangle. Let's see what they do with that group. Or that is the Lucha Brothers, excuse me. But let's kind of figure that out. But I expect them to go to AEW, and I expect them to be big stars there, or not necessarily big stars. They're not going to be a Shawn Spears where they're barely getting used, but I expect them to have an impact there. Now let's talk about another interview from this week that a lot of people are not talking about, and I wonder why a lot of people aren't talking about this. But this was ACH's first post WWE interview, and he did it on, I think it was like Square Submission or Square Circle Submission, something like that. I can't remember the podcast name. But that dropped on Monday of this past week, the 3rd, Sunday or Monday. It was the 3rd, so whatever day that was. And he was having a conversation with two individuals that he considered friends. Can't remember their name. This was my first time actually listening to the podcast. But he talked about a lot. It's a 2.5 hour conversation, so it's long if you take the opportunity to listen to it. But around the last 40 minutes of it is him talking exclusively about what happened with WWE and his exit. And listening to that conversation is very clear that I don't think he's sorry for what he said. I think he's sorry for how he said it. And that is key to me because he talks a lot about that the way he delivered his message wasn't the best of way, but he felt like he was not being heard, which I also agree with. Because if you look at the response that he got as soon as he started talking about people being racist and then talking about the caricature of the shirt, no one wanted to hear that except for people who understood the ramifications of what that meant. So I understand his sentiment there. Yes, I do think he went about it the wrong way when it comes to trying to bring awareness to it. Posting that email from a WWE employee, doing stuff like that, that's just going to get you fired from anywhere. So I get that. But I don't want to say he had remorse for it. I think he has regret for the way he did it. And if you listen to what a lot of the things he said on the show, it's very similar to what Moxley said. It's very similar to what the Revolt said. They're talking about not being taken seriously. They're talking about wanting to add value to wherever they're performing and wanting that place to be within the WWE, but the WWE is not allowing them to add that value. They're making fools out of them, for lack of a better term. And you can see that. And I understood his frustration there. And it's unfortunate to me because I wrote about this, and the piece actually just went up today for Daily DDT, but I haven't seen anyone else talk about this at all. I haven't seen it on, well, no, let me not name any names because I don't want to be wrong. But I just haven't seen it anywhere. I've seen a lot of people talking about the Revolt in their interview, talking about the revival, making jokes about it, writing up pieces about it, et cetera, et cetera. But no one's talked about this ACH conversation. And in my opinion, I hope we do not lose that man to professional wrestling. He was good in the ring. There is a space for Black people, minority people, and not even racially like just marginalized groups across the whole. There's a space for them in professional wrestling, and it seems that it's getting more and more marginalized almost on a yearly basis. I really wish that the Florida Culture event could have happened this year because that was massive. It was a card full of people of color. And I was going to buy a ticket, even though I couldn't go or I wasn't going to be able to go. I was going to buy a ticket. Or if I went to WrestleMania weekend, my goal was just to go to just that event and Bloodsport. That's it. So I really hope that we do have an opportunity to do that next year because I plan on going just for that. The WWE I don't know if ACH is ever going to go back to WWE. I doubt it. And it's unfortunate that I doubt it because the organization has welcomed back known races. They have welcomed back people. They have welcomed people that have been a part of domestic violence incidences with an S. They've welcomed back people who've been accused of pedophilia. So how do they welcome back those individuals, but they don't welcome back. They wouldn't welcome back ACH, and I don't think that they would. Even just the fan base's reaction to his name being brought up is the same. It's just unfortunate, and I hope that he gets an opportunity to come back to make a splash in professional wrestling because he's just so damn talented. You can go back and look at his matches. He's so talented that I think he deserves the opportunity. Will it come? I don't know, but I hope that he gets it because it's an opportunity that I would love to see occur for a wrestler that looks like me. So let's move on to topic number 3, which is just kind of a recap of some of the content from this past week. Overall, I'm enjoying professional wrestling. Yes, it is a little bit more difficult to watch in the situation that we're in now with empty arena shows, but it's a part of my life. 30 plus years of my life I've been watching professional wrestling. I'm probably more like 25, but can't really remember when I started. I was thinking about that the other day, and I can't remember the exact day that it started. But still, there was a lot of good content that came out this past week from WWE and AEW. We're going to talk about some of that. From a WWE standpoint, I'm interested in what they're doing with Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins. They're hinting at a possible feud in the future. Murphy was very direct in saying that he plans on, what's the word? Leapfrogging, I guess, Seth as a leader at some point in the future. And then you saw that picture of the way Seth was watching Buddy walk down the aisle as he was preparing for his match against Drew. So I think that's where we're headed. Maybe we'll see something this weekend where Buddy costs Drew the Seth the match. I'm looking forward to that. I hope we get that. You had Liv losing to Charlotte, and a lot of people were pissed off about that. And I get why they're upset because they did not need Liv to lose here. She has that built-in story where she's taking shots at Charlotte before she went away, and that was who she lost to before she came. She was going to get quote unquote real, but they haven't done anything with that since. Having her come out and lose to Charlotte, I guess they think that having her lose a competitive match would be enough, but they don't. That's not how they need to build up to that. They had the opportunity to build up to that when she lost to Asuka. She beat Ruby Riott twice. There's so many other women on the roster that they could have Liv beating. Kaden Carter. I don't know if Sarah Logan's back, but they could have her beating her. They have everyone beating Kairi Sane, so she's there. They have other women in NXT that they can bring up and having that space. It doesn't need to be a squash match for Liv losing to Charlotte to kind of for Liv to get the rub. Like I hate the way that's the way we build quote unquote people up now. They tried that with Ricochet, didn't work. Tried that with Cedric Alexander, didn't work. Look where it got them. Tried that with Umberto Carrillo, didn't work. I mean, it's just why do they keep doing this? I thought they were going to protect the shit out of Liv, but that didn't seem to be the case when she lost to Asuka. So let's just kind of see what the picture in the future looks like, especially what we have happening on Wednesday, and we'll get into that. Then we have both the Street Profits and Cedric and Ricochet losing. I mean, wow, like okay, so the Street Profits they had to lose to the Viking Raiders to try to build up that feud. Okay, no problem. I get it. I understand. I see what they're trying to do. It's not going to work because I don't care about the Viking Raiders at all. And I'm starting not to care about the Street Profits. Bianca Belair hasn't been on television either. So they have that situation go down, and it's whatever. They haven't announced if that tag team title match is going to go down on Sunday. Everyone's expecting it to because that's how they build the title matches now. So we'll see. But the Cedric and Ricochet one pisses me off the most because they lost to Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. Shane Thorne's been getting his ass kicked on a weekly basis. Brandon Vink and Shane Thorne lost 4 matches in a row before this one. So does that mean that just because MVP said their name, that all of a sudden they're good enough to win? And you have Cedric and Ricochet, who they could be the type of team that gets little kids interested in professional wrestling. They do shit in the ring that people shouldn't be able to do, and they make it look easy. But these guys are being treated like they're second rate. And I mean, I'm not gonna dive too further into that, but I mean exactly what they said. They're being treated like they're second rate, and like this is the shit that makes watching wrestling a little bit difficult for me because it's like I just want to see good, consistent booking for people of color. I want to see that from time to time. I'm not saying all the time, but we haven't. Like, when have we gotten? You got Bobby Lashley doing bullshit. You got the New Day stuck in the tag team division, like they can't do anything with them. They don't even talk about Kofi Kingston being champion barely. They didn't talk about that for months after he lost the title. You got Cedric and Ricochet losing left and right. You had the Dream, but he fucked that up. We'll probably talk about that in a little while later. You got Bianca Belair. They didn't even dare put her over Charlotte or Rhea Ripley. You have Kaden Carter. She's getting squashed every night, more often than not. You have Naomi. They dropped the ball with her when she first came back. Sasha, she's never been in like a well booked champion. So there's so many examples, and it's just frustrating to watch. What isn't frustrating to watch was NXT, and I'm really enjoying the show on Wednesdays. One of the bigger things I'm really enjoying is the way this interim cruiserweight title tournament is shaping up. This week we had Tozawa winning over Jack Gallagher and Kushida beating Jake Atlas. Kushida keeps doing Kushida shit. This time he catches the armbar as a counter to Jake doing a springboard, whatever it was, into the ring. Like that's how he got caught there. So I'm all for that. Then we have Tozawa and Gallagher, and Tozawa pretty much won pretty dominantly there. My only thing is Cesaro keeps getting squashed on Raw every week, so he could be on the course of a pretty good push here, but they're just not doing it with him. I mean, former cruiserweight champion, they're making him look like a joke here too as well. Killian Cross in his debut, I said I would never call him that. Killer Cross. Him and Scarlett debuted on Sunday or Wednesday of this past week. I'll just say this: I enjoyed it. I didn't like Scarlett's over exaggerated lip syncing, but everyone's kind of been on the same page with that. But Killian looks like a monster. I love Leon Ruff. Maybe I might write about him or something like that, because that dude, I hope he becomes this generation's version of Barry Horowitz. The way he's out there selling like left and right, I just love it. But he's hilarious, and I'm going to talk more about that probably some other show. But man, there's one particular platform that is absolutely pissed off about the way Karrion Kross debuted. I'm going to probably listen to their show tomorrow, but they are hot about the way he debuted. They didn't like anything about it, and I find that kind of interesting. I find it funny. So I don't have anything more to say about that, but I'm interested in seeing what they do with Killer in the next few weeks to a few months. Io versus Charlotte. This was a good match. It's exactly the good match everybody thought it would be. Until they fuck up and Charlotte gets DQ'd for no reason. I mean, Io missed the moonsault and she hits her with the kendo stick. Okay. And then she just beating the hell out of her. It looked like she was going to injure her. And Rhea Ripley comes out talking, and they're putting Rhea up as in, oh, there's unfinished business. No, the business was finished. Charlotte did a good job about that when she made you tap clean at WrestleMania. So I don't understand what they're talking about. The business isn't finished. And then you have Io and Rhea getting to it backstage. So clearly they're setting up to a triple threat. Okay, no problem. It's a way to get the title off of Charlotte and keep her strongly booked. But why? A loss? Charlotte doesn't fall off the face of the earth with the loss. She can lose the Io Shirai and look good in it, and Io looks good in it as well too. I don't understand why that's so much of a problem, and it's just an issue that they just can't seem to book themselves out of time and time and time again. Just because they did that, I'm less interested in what they're going to do with them in the future. Alex Palowski was saying that he hopes that they do a fatal four-way and add in Candice LeRae, which I think, okay, would be cool. Candice's comeback is pretty interesting, and she looks good as a heel. I'm more interested in her as a heel than I am in Johnny Gargano, but we have no idea how that's really going to play out either. Then that brings me to the last thing from Monday Night Raw I wanted to talk about, was specifically the match between Sonya Deville and Mandy. This was the opener on Friday, and I, for one, thought that this match was going to get a lot more. There was actually a Twitter conversation going on last week about what is the best book storyline in professional wrestling, and people were talking about Lance Archer versus Cody as the best book story. I don't agree. I actually think it was Mandy and Sonya, and I was more interested in that because I wanted to see what they're going to do with Sonya. Didn't seem like they were going to do a lot so far, because that was all they had. They got about 3 minutes. Sonya won, and Sonya looks good as a heel, but I just wanted more out of this match. I wanted more of an opportunity for them. And I bet they're probably going to go back to it. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a rematch where Mandy wins or it's booked on the pre-show for tomorrow. So that's really all I wanted to talk about from WWE. Now we have the AEW content. And the main I wanted to talk about two things. Here, was the main event from Wednesday. Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega versus who did Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho, the Six Gods. This was everything I enjoyed about professional wrestling wrapped up into one. Great wrestlers, great personalities, and just shenanigans. That's the word to use. Shenanigans. You got Matt Hardy running back and forth doing costume changes, which I think is hilarious. It's hilarious for all the wrong reasons. People are going to get mad about it, but whatever. Then you have ridiculous spots. They're brawling all over the place. It's not a traditional wrestling match. It's just a brawl, walk and brawl. Okay, we get AEW gives us a lot of those, and I think they're giving us a lot of those to kind of do things within this time frame. But we know that they can give us great wrestling all the while too. And Chris Jericho's 50, I think, so that's kind of what he has to give us right now. And what is also important about this is like it makes this watching the wrestling Twitter on Wednesday, it was clear while Cole and Dream were having a fantastic match. I didn't even talk about that. I forgot about that, but whatever. See, I didn't even talk about it. Dream and Cole were having a fantastic match. Viewers and people talking about wrestling were having much more fun talking about AEW. And that is what's important. That is why AEW keeps winning the ratings battle, because people are having more fun on that side. And I get it. I had more fun watching that match. I could not wait until someone dropped a gif of Sammy Guevara being run down in the car. I might go watch it again after I tape this show. So I understand it, and that's why they keep winning. People are having more fun with their content. All of the fun has been sucked out of WWE. They are basically the NFL of professional sports, the no fun league. That's where WWE is right now, and it's unfortunate watching this happen. And AEW is going to continue winning because they continue to give people a product that is fun week in and week out. The other thing I wanted to talk about in reference to AEW content was about Brody Lee. He is next in line for Jon Moxley. Moxley and Frankie Kazarian had a pretty good match between Lee snuffed him after the match, elbowed or clotheslined him, whatever, hit him with that clothesline in a full suit. So I have some thoughts about this because, seeing Brody Lee in the title picture, it would be good. We'll get an opportunity to see if he is that guy that everyone talked about, that WWE was missing the boat on. So we'll get an opportunity to see that. But I wonder if there's going to be a point where the conversation is that, hey, WWE is dropping the ball, not WWE, excuse me. AEW has an issue where they're putting a lot of former WWE guys in the title picture. It went from Page versus Jericho to the title being on Jericho. Scorpio Sky got a shot. Then Cody got a shot. Jon Moxley, he got a shot and he became champion. Then you have Jake Hager getting a shot at the belt. Now you have Brody Lee, the former Luke Harper. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 men that have been in the title picture. 2 of them, no, wait. 1 of them is two of them is a quote unquote AEW guy. And they're not even really AEW guys, but you know what I mean. Adam Page and Scorpio Sky. I don't know if that's going to be a talking point in the future, but it's something definitely to pay close attention to. I'll be paying close attention to that. But that's really all I wanted to talk about today. We went about 40 minutes, which is pretty good for us. And I am, as usual, I'm covering professional wrestling, combat sports across all of our MMA ratings channels. So please be sure to follow me at rgarcia_sports. You can catch our content over at the flagship at MMAratings.net. You can go over to MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter to catch us there. And also check us out at Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor as well. Once again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And everyone, have a great and fantastic weekend.